There we go. And hello, everybody. My name is Jessica with Cross Reviews, and this is Read On. I think this is the third one of 2015. I really need to start adding those numbers back on there. Today we've got 3 authors, so woohoo. Last week was really crazy trying to have 13 come on at once, so that was very interesting. As always, if you are new, you can ask questions via starting the show and asking them in the live Q&A. You can ask them on Google Plus on the event itself. You can go to YouTube and ask them there. You can track me down on Twitter or Facebook as well. Anywhere that you want to post the questions, I will be more than happy to find them. Everything should be popping up. Everything looks like it's ready to go. So today we have, my books are in the wrong order. We have AnnNoser of How to Date Dead Guys. We've also got Katie Hamstead of books 1, 2, and 3 of, you said Kaya, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yay! And then Mathew Cox of Division 0. And these are the giveaway books, so there will be 3 winners for this one. And one person will get an extra book that apparently I didn't get a book 1, 2, but she's not on the show, so you'll get a mystery book as well. Can be that. So I'm going to bring you guys on one at a time, and you guys can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your book. So Ann, you're first.
Oh, sorry, I thought I would move or something. So I'm AnnNoser. I'm the baby author here. Katie and Matt each have like about 1 million books, and I have the 1, but there are more coming. A little about me. I'm also a small animal veterinarian and a mother, and do other random things as well. How to Date Dead Guys is a little bit about being careful what you wish for, and a little bit about growing up, and a little bit about the dangers of having power once you come upon having power. But the plot line is about a girl named Emma that's in college, and she crushes on this boy named Mike, and then he becomes a fatality. He drowns in a river, and she decides to try to get him back. But instead of using witchcraft to get him back, she ends up bringing up other people back as well, and then she copes with them coming back and trying to help them resolve the issues that they left behind. So it's also a little bit about, living your life as you should instead of just letting it flow by and not resolving things or finishing things. And I think it's someone else's turn to talk, so I will back off.
I always forget to unmute myself. Ann, it's your turn. Or Katie, it's your turn. Oh my goodness.
No. My turn. Okay. So I am Katie Hamstead. I wrote the Kia books. I should say about me first. I am an Australian, and I live here in Arizona. Married a local kid after I was an exchange student. Well, a few years after I was an exchange student. That's really me. I'm a mom too. And the books are about a Amana period in ancient Egypt. Kind of moves through several pharaohs, starting with Akhenaten in the first book, all the way through to Tut and all those other pharaohs that are in between in that period. But it follows the main character, Kia, who is taken from her home to become a wife of the pharaoh, and all that she does to sort of stay alive in the palace and to keep her children alive as well. So that's really the trilogy, and I think they're fun. So, I'm done.
Matthew?
Oh, I'm Mathew Cox. Pretty much I think I spend more time in the artificial worlds of the imagination than the real one. At least it's more fun there. Anyway, I wrote the Division 0 series. It was the first book I had published. I have a couple more coming out, but Division 0 follows the story of Kirsten Wren. She's 22. She's a psionic It's set in the year 2418 after a corporate war has ruined the center of North America and forced the population out to the sides of the continent. There's these massive contiguous cities that stretch from Canada to Mexico on both coasts. It's sort of a benevolent police state, if that makes any sense. The corporations have split off, left the area that used to be the U.S. and formed another sort of nation, and what's left of the U.S. and Canadian governments is kind of combined into one government, and Kirsten is part of the police department in that government. She belongs to Division 0, which is the branch of the police that deals with psionics. She has the rare gift of being able to see dead people. She's also what's known as a mind blaster. She has a feared telepathic attack that works on people too. And the combination of both gives her a potent weapon, an astral lash, which is kind of like an energy whip, which she can use to actually destroy spirits that get out of hand. And the story is pretty much her journey from being this shy, introverted person that everybody is afraid of. I mean, most of the population is pretty scared of psionics, and even other psionics are afraid of anybody that has the ability to mind blast. Plus, she spends more time hanging out with ghosts and dead people than real people. She's lonely, isolated. Her mother was abusive. She ran away from home when she was 10, lived on the streets with the help of some ghosts. Got found by Division 0 when she was 12, taken in, and essentially because of the rarity of her gift and her being the only one in the area that could deal with certain things, they threw a gun on her belt and sent her out the door at 16. Because of her special gift, again, she was fast-tracked through investigative operations department, which is basically like a detective. So she's got an officer's rank, but doesn't really have command authority because she's still at the lowest tier of that. But as the story in the first book progresses through her solving a series of murders committed by something paranormal, the second book picks up a little while after that and takes on as some corporation hitmen went after this guy who was stealing their secrets, and there was an explosion, and even though they're dead, they're still trying to kill the guy. And she gets drawn into this one, and the first book was a ghost. The second book, she deals with something a little darker, something that crawled back from the abyss. And she's not really sure what she's getting into, but it's her nature. She has to help, so she does what she can. Meanwhile, she's also found a small boy who has a similar psychic talent. He can also see ghosts, but he doesn't have mind blast, so all he can really do is see them. He had a bad family situation, so it kind of grabbed her, and she's taken him in. The department has sort of signed off on it because they're so similar in talents. They figure she'd be a good mentor for him. But she thinks her background might get in the way because of the way her mother was and that she was a runaway. She's petrified that they're going to falter on a psych thing and take him away from her. That's pretty much about it. Book 3 is coming out in a couple of weeks, which is the end, at least right now, of that series. I might do a 4th, but still got to think about it. You're muted.
So Matt, I heard when you say you're thinking about it, you actually have about 10,000 words written of the book already. Is that true?
Something, right?
Might help if I like unmute myself. I can't mute myself anymore because then I forget that I've done it. I was like, why isn't she answering the question?
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay, so the first question is, what classifies your book as NA or new adult? Anne?
Oh, I'm first again?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, ever since I started writing, which was a while ago, and then I would do query contests and yada yada, you know, it seemed like there was this whole, is it young adult, is it new adult, and everybody has their own little definition. And sometimes I think it depends on who's talking to you, and sometimes I think it just depends on the age of your main character in the book. And so my main character is a sophomore in college, so therefore she's new adult because she's not in high school, which would be young adult. And sometimes I think it, I don't know if it really counts content-wise, because I don't think my new adult is like a lot of other new adults, because mine is not contemporary romance new adult, which some people think is slightly sleazed up young adult chick lit, and some people don't. But, it all depends on who's throwing out the definition. But I'm basing mine on age.
Katie?
Oh, me. Okay. Well, mine is, well, she starts off as an 18-year-old. So it is kind of based on age as well for me. Because historical fiction, like Anne said, it's not really the normal new adult classified thing. But I think also the way that it's written is more for a younger audience rather than an adult audience. That historical is usually put out for, I keep it to a very fast pace. Not like there's a lot of heavy writing in a lot of historical fiction, and it doesn't really go into that at all. So I think like the way I've written it, as well as her age in the beginning, makes it the new adult.
Okay. Matthew?
Well, when I started writing Division Zero, I really had no concept that new adult even existed as a thing. I came up with a story, had a character background, put everything together, sent it into Curiosity Quills, and they said, "Great, this is new adult." I'm like, "What's that?" And I got sort of an explanation that it had something to do with the main character's age, too old for young adult, but it's sort of like a coming of age, finding out who they are, establishing themselves as an adult in the world. And there is a little bit of that aspect to Kirsten's character where she's trying to come out of that shell that she's built around herself after what she's been through. But I think for the most part, they put her there they put the book there because the main character is 22 and in that trying to get her foot in the door of the world stage of her life.
The next question is ebook versus print. Which one do you like better? Matthew?
Well, you have people that like to have the feeling of a paper book in their hands. Paper books don't run out of batteries, but they also weigh a lot. I think it depends on the book. For me, I tend to like ebooks, but if I really like the book, I'll get the paperbacks so I can have it on the shelf. I don't think either one of them is going to wind up being exclusive. They both have their fans and their uses. It's like if you're going on a trip, an e-reader can come with you and bring 500 books, where that's totally impractical to do with paperback. But if there's a book you really like and want to keep, I always get the paperback or the hardcover of it. Plus, people tend to be annoyed at you if you Sharpie marker their Kindle and sign it.
I said that Kindle they need to come out with a thing so that like you can hit a button on your tablet, like your iPad or whatever, for that book, and that it makes it so that it's writable. So then like the author can sign it, and then you can click the button again, and then it becomes part of the book. That would be so cool. I know people that use like exclusive nothing but Kindle books and stuff, and they can't get that signed.
Yep.
Right. Katie?
I'm pretty much the same. I have my Kindle, and I do all of my reading on my Kindle because it's cheaper to get ebooks, for one thing. And it's also easier to carry lots around with me and don't take space in my handbag. But I do like paperbacks, and I have a lot of like friends and family who don't have e-readers and that don't like the e-readers. That the paperbacks and hardbacks are really good for them. So I'm the same as Matt. I think that they both have their places.
And Anne?
Actually, I don't know if I'm just stubborn or what, but I am reading my very first Kindle book. It's actually my Kindle. It's my mother-in-law's Kindle, and I borrowed it. It took me several weeks to actually get it charged and get it ready to go. I guess I like the paperbacks, which is probably, or hardbacks or whatever. I like the physical book, which is probably a problem because I don't have any bookshelf room anymore. But I like it in your hands. I like being able to turn the pages. I like being able to see where I am. I like being able to flip back. And even, this is totally a spatial thing, but on the Kindle, it's like you know, your words all get centered and moved around, and for some reason that sort of bugs me because it looks wrong. It's not wrong, but it looks wrong, and I think I'm just, you know, I'm the person that didn't want to do a DVD either, and now all I have is DVD. So maybe someday I'll change my mind. But right now, I like the book. I like the book.
You see, I'm like you, Anne. You know, you can see here that, you know, I do print books. Print books, 'cause they're like everywhere. I go into the used bookstore because all of this stuff has been scanned into my application, and I go into the used bookstore and I'll end up grabbing something. Oh crap, I already have it on ebook, because you don't really know unless you have it with you, and you have to like scroll through all the crap to find it. So this is easier. I know I have it, and I get to see it and drool over all my books. Okay, the next question is there anything readers need to know about your book that they may not know? Anne?
Gosh, I have to go first on that one, huh? Well, I mean, maybe back to what you were saying before, that it's a new adult, but it's a atypical genre. You know, it is about witchcraft, which I guess is probably obvious from the back of the book, but it is also a little bit of a coming of age, and maybe that would be apparent from the age too. I mean, I suppose all the stuff that they don't know about it is part of the plot line that I wouldn't want to give any spoilers. I'm afraid I don't know what to say is a really great answer to that question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hard one.
Katie?
Oh my goodness. That, yeah, I think that is stuck as in. I think just one thing would probably be that that even though Kia as a historical figure is real, she probably wasn't a Hebrew. And I know that. But I made her a Hebrew for what I wanted the story to do. So there was a purpose behind it. And it also made it clearly so it was fiction rather than this is fact kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's probably it. Because, yeah, she was like supposed to be Mittani princess or something. But I'm like, whatever, let's do this. So.
Matthew?
Well, I'm not really sure what to say to somebody who would have to know about the book. I've had a couple of people comment. I suppose I should say that in the beginning of the series, Kirsten starts off as a pretty rabid atheist based on the way her mother used religion as a weapon to hurt her. She didn't like that her child was psionic and thought it was the devil torturing her, punishing her for something, so she took out all of her anger on Kirsten for this. And Kirsten grew up hating religion of any kind and anybody that was even remotely religious. But as the story progresses, she kind of pulls away from that when she realizes that, you know, she's as much of an anti-religion zealot as her mother was a pro-religion zealot, and kind of opens her mind to like, okay, I don't have all the answers either, who knows? And she kind of softens her point of view as the story goes on. It's as much of a story about her evolution as a character as it is a sort of a police procedural with cyberware, androids, and ghosts.
All right. The next question is, what do you think is more important, characters or plot? Matthew?
I think they're both important, but for me, I like the character aspect of it more. I think a sketchy plot can be tolerable if the characters are true and believable and have understandable motivations and a concept that the reader can really see as this is a real person I'm being told about, and not just a cardboard cutout going down a side-scrolling video game. Obviously, a great plot helps too, but I think a sketchy plot with great characters is better than sketchy characters with a great plot.
That's true.
Katie?
I agree with that as well. I'm all for a character-driven plot line. So a plot line that, you know, you have your strong characters, but the characters are directing the course of the plot and their reactions and stuff, and what make it work and and you can feel when the plot is forced because you're going off what the characters would do. Does that make sense? So I think they just run really well. They're more of a hand-in-hand thing.
Yeah.
So you can't really have one without the other, I don't think.
Anne?
Yeah, I think everything they've said already I agree with, and especially, to expand on Katie's, I guess part of what I try to do is what the character says or what the character does. It's not like that what would Jesus do thing, but the what would Emma do? Would Emma really do this? Would she say that? I kind of let the plot be determined by her character. And I guess I would say in general, I always thought I was a character. Like when I'm reading rather than writing, I would always say I have to like the character. And then I read Gone Girl, which I know it's very divisive. Some people love it, some people hate it. I thought it was addicting. And I mean, that was totally plot driven for me because I didn't like anybody. I wanted to like slap them or something. And so I think it varies on the book.
Okay. The next question is, what do you do to get into the writing mood? Do you ever get writer's block? Anne?
Yes, I do. I don't know if I have really great answer. If it's okay, one is it's hard to have time to write when you have children and you have a job and you have other things that need to get done as well. That said, if there's a particular scene, but I'm in the mood to write, but I just can't figure it out, I will walk the dogs or go for a run or something. And that seems like if I just have my body moving, things will start clicking together. So I have to bring my phone or something so I can write it down and then do it later. But or sometimes if I don't know, like actually right now, I have several projects and I'll pick one up and then I put that down and then I pick another one up and I'm not really sure how to get out of that. I just wish, because usually I just go with whatever it is I want to work on, that's what I want to work on, and I can't seem to settle. And I am doing stuff like Alzheimer's poetry because my mom has Alzheimer's, and I'm doing like articles for magazines and stuff, and that's great too, but somehow I feel like I've become this like short, like, wow, it's 1,000 words and I'm done. Zip, and I don't know the big writer's block. The small writer's block, I just walk the dogs. The big writer's block, I haven't figured out what to do yet. I think my mind needs to settle on something, and I think I've got so much going on that my mind is like a monkey, and it needs to come.
That was me earlier today. Katie?
I get writer's block a lot lately because of all the edits I've been doing. I think it's just over busy mind. So I just try to take breaks between things. So like I have a few days off to sort of reset my mind, spend some time doing family things or church things or whatever else I need to do to sort of reset my mind so I can refocus and start over again and get back into my characters' heads and stuff to get the plot going again. That's really about it. Just time off, recharge, reset.
Matthew?
Well, so far I haven't been fortunate enough not to have writer's block. The closest thing that's actually hit me related to that is one of the quirky things I try to do as a writer is the first word of every book, I try to make that word somehow reflective of where the character is at the start of the story or something about the character. So sometimes I'll sit there for an hour or two trying to come up with the perfect word to start a story, but other than that, I have more in my head than I have time to type. The whole time I was writing Division Zero, I had Althea, the main character from another book, standing behind me with her arms folded, tapping her foot like, come on, I want to come out. So far I've been, knock on wood, been fortunate enough not to have writer's block, and it just sort of flows.
Next question is, with making characters, your side characters, how much do you complete them? Matthew?
It depends on how side they are, but usually I'll come up with a little bit of a background for even the minor characters. Division Zero has the guy that runs the cyberware store in the scene where Kirsten meets Evan. I had a couple of pages of notes on him. Former veteran, lost his arm in the war, has a dog, lost his wife, left him, so he got the dog to make up for that hole in his life. I get enough of a sense of who the character is so I can convey their attitude, the way they talk, how they would react to something in case something unexpected happens. Sometimes the characters do things I'm not expecting, and I need to have enough of a sense of who they are to know how they'd react when something unexpected happens. And obviously, the more prevalent, or the more screen time a character gets, the more background I cook up for them.
On my hand here. If you can't tell, I am freezing over here. Katie?
I believe my side characters are just as important as the main character because their interactions with the character make all the difference in the world, whether they're a friend or a family member or something like that. Like just like a normal person, the people around them influences their lives. The side characters will influence the main character's life. So I try to have a really clear understanding of what all the side characters are thinking and doing and coming from as well, so that that I can give a really organic sort of relationship between them all.
Anne?
I think everything that's been said already is good as well. And maybe I get too involved, but I mean, I even try to think of what the cat is like in How to Date Dead Guys. Like, how much food does the cat eat? How fat is the cat? And that's sort of a minor character, but he does show up in the first 2 books, at least. Yeah, I think like like Katie said, sometimes even my side characters, like, they're supposed to be only a little bit, and then all of a sudden they take over. So I feel like I know them pretty well. Well, except when they surprise me and then take over the story. But yeah, I try to flesh them out, and fortunately, I have a really nice group of beta readers and critique partners too that they'll let me know if I'm not. So then I get back to work.
Okay. The next question is, can you tell us about the challenges with getting your first book published, and were there any expectations that you had while doing it that maybe changed after you got published? Anne?
Oh, yeah, it was a long time getting published. First I wrote in a vacuum, which is a bad idea. I can list all the bad ideas here. So first, you don't write all by yourself in your little room, and then edit it yourself, and then never have anybody else read it, and then try to query it, because that's a really bad idea. So eventually I joined a writer's group. I had been to writers' classes, but again, that's like you sitting in the back of the room listening, and you're not really interacting with anyone or getting any feedback. So then I joined a writers group, which met once a month, but that really isn't enough, So then we broke off into a smaller writers group, and that really helped me a lot. And then I did lots of things once I started with Twitter, which is another thing I didn't want to do. But then I started Twitter, and now I do more Twitter. But like different contests, or it's nice. Some of those websites will have like a first page or first 5 pages, and then you get other people's comments on it. People you don't even know. And I just think when people start writing, they should really try to get more feedback, but also keep in mind that some of the feedback is good feedback, and some of the feedback is, if people are just negative and they're not giving you any like actual critique or some help, you don't have to listen to everything everybody says. I think I got off track, but I ended up getting through to actually Curiosity Quills through Twitter, because there was another contest, and I joined that, and then they wrote me back, and it went from there. I think one of the things I was surprised about, and maybe this would be good for people to know if they're starting out writing, is that everything takes way longer than you think. Like way, 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 way longer. And then also, once you do start publishing, there's all this marketing stuff to do, which of course I'm still learning, because I had not a clue, like nothing of what to do. And I feel like I'm learning some, but there are other people far more capable than me that are helping me along and instructing me. But there's a lot to do with the marketing, and sometimes I think that might be why I'm having writer's block, because I feel like I'm doing, marketing stuff, and maybe that squishes down your ability to create. I don't know, but That's probably somebody else's turn.
Katie?
Yeah. So my story. I guess I was kind of like Anna in the beginning. I just wrote my story, and I was like, "Oh, I wrote my story. I'm so awesome." And I wanted to like get it published, and then I'm like, "But I don't know how to do this." So I started looking around, like Googling, how to do it. Google was a great way to start. And I found out that you need to write a query, you need to do this and that, and I was like, "What? This is crazy." But then I started doing it, and I got involved with a couple of online writers and following a couple of blogs, and I noticed a competition come up. And it was the first time I'd ever heard of doing writers competitions, and I was like, "All right, let's get in this. I'm pretty awesome, so let's do this." And I put it on, and everyone was like, "Oh, you got a lot of work to do. This is really rough." And I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" But it was a really good learning experience for me to get involved in the competition, to have my query critiqued and my first few pages and stuff. And I finally got hold of some people to read my manuscript for me, to go through it and say, "All right, you need to sort of adjust this, 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 and this." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Started to learn the basics, and I discovered that there were these small presses around, and I saw a call for new adult submissions. Curiosity Quills was just opening up the new adult area. So I was like, "All right, let's give it a go." Then I sent it in, and not long after I got an email saying, "We want it. Here's your contract." And I was like, "Oh my goodness." So that was pretty exciting. I may have screamed and scared my friends that were around at the time. And but after that, as Anne said, it was just a long process to go from that contract signing to the actual publication of the book. I was like, nothing's happening. There were just months where I'm like, I haven't heard anything. Did they forget me? What is going on? And I think now that I've done it a few times, I kind of understand, I'm not the only author they're dealing with. They got to sort of balance everything out. They have a schedule to work with as well. And I think I'm a lot more patient now than I was the first time around, and a bit more understanding, I guess. Not as picky about things. And I just go, okay, and I just do it. Yeah. Is that the question answered?
I know about the screening, but I do. Mine is whenever I get like books that I didn't think I was gonna get an ARC of or something, and then I get it, and it was like, oh my god!
I was pretty excited. My friend's like, "I'll be your bodyguard. I'll be the bouncer for you." So that was pretty cool.
Matthew?
Well, a couple of years ago, I decided that I was going to try to get back into this whole writing thing. I dabbled with it more than 10 years ago or so, but never really took it seriously. And I had a job. I was working customer email responses, and my supervisor at the time was also, he had written a book and self-published it, and he was looking at the way that I was sending out these emails and asked me if I'd ever tried writing. I'm like, "Yeah, I dabbled." And he, "Oh, you should really write a book. We could self-publish it." I'm like, "Oh, I want to think about it." So that kept rattling around in the back of my head, like, you're wasting, because I was playing World of Warcraft at the time, throwing all my free time at a video game, like, you're wasting time, do something productive, and I kept hearing him tell me to write. So I sat down, got a plot idea based on a tabletop RPG that I was running at the time, and I wrote Virtual Immortality first, and when the dust cleared, I had 250,000 word manuscript sitting in front of me. I'm like, whoa. So everyone I talked to said that is far too large to try and query. I mean, occasionally you'll get lucky, somebody will grab something that big, but you're probably not going to get anywhere with it. So after much teeth gnashing, I set it aside and set to writing Division 0 with the specific purpose of having something more of a queryable length. I went, one main character, a less complicated plot than VI had, and I wrote Division 0, edited it, let it sit, went back through it, gave it to some people to read. I found this website, Agent Query Connect, where aspiring authors would critique each other's queries, and I then learned about this whole query process, and hey, there's these literary agent things. I should say people, not things, but anyway. So I started sending queries out. I probably got about 50, hey, this is great, I just don't feel like I'm the right agent to represent this responses. So I started wondering if it was the query, if it was the book. AW, actually another CQ author, happened to be on that website, and I asked her one day in a chat room if she'd be willing, because she was, hey, published author here. Would you be willing to read my first 5 chapters and let me know if you think it's any good or whatever? Is this my query? Is it the chapter, sample chapters, whatever? She gets back to me in about 2 weeks and says, I liked it. You should send it to my publisher. I'm like, I don't have an agent. She's like, send it anyway. They might take it. So I did, and about 3 weeks later, I got a request for a full. They sent it to one of the acquisitions editors, and an agonizing 6 weeks later, they wanted it. So that was the longest 6 weeks, I think, of my life. Every time I got an email, I jumped, and usually it was Petco sending me spam. But they signed it. I really didn't have any expectations of what was going to happen, sort of dancing around the apartment for joy that I was signed. And it's been a pretty fun experience so far, all things told. Then I sent them Virtual Immortality, which had shrunk to 206K from its initial 250 after about 14 more edit passes. A couple other books on the way, sent them over. So far, it's been fun. Like Ann said, it does take a lot longer than I thought it would. There was somebody else who went through a slightly larger publisher, and they signed him, and their book isn't coming out for another 1.5 years. So 2 years between signing and release. So it can vary quite a bit depending on where you are, what you write, and the publisher that's processing it.
Okay, so you said that the one book that you were working on that you didn't submit, that it was really, really big. How many words was that? You said 200 and...
When I first finished the manuscript, it was 256,000.
Okay, and about how, like, if you would put that into like a book form, about how many pages would that be? I'm so horrible at that, and I like all the indie authors and stuff, that they'll like fill out my review form and stuff, and instead of putting like how many pages it is, they'll put in how many words it is, and I'm like, I work with pages.
It's a touch around 600 pages. This is the book you have.
Yeah.
This is Virtual Immortality.
Okay. Holy massive.
Yeah.
Okay, so like anything over like 200, like 250,000, then that one that you have there in the finished copy, how many pages is that one? You said like 6 something?
I'm looking for the end. It's about 580.
And then how many words would that be, give or take?
The final count was 211,000.
211. Holy
I mean,
crap.
it does happen. People do sign first novels that are that long. Name of the Wind by Pat Rothfuss was 250 and change, and that was his debut novel. So lightning does strike, but agents tend to fear books that long as a first attempt, because it's an expense to produce it, and if it doesn't sell,
yeah, then everybody's mad. That is really, really long. Okay, so anything close to 200,000 words is about 500 pages.
Depending, yeah.
All right, now I have something to go with now. Okay, so the next question is, how did you come up with the world your characters live in? Matthew?
Oh, well, yeah. Actually, that was fairly easy for me. For the longest time, I've been involved in tabletop role-playing games, Dungeons & Dragons kind of stuff, although we got out of the habit of playing D&D back in high school. I think I was like 15 or 16 when I felt constrained like a fern in too small of a flower pot. So I started making my own game systems and own worlds. And the world that Division Zero and Virtual Immortality take place in, as well as the Awakened series, was actually something I designed for a science fiction game. And I probably put about 18 years into the gradual evolution of this world setting. And I have everything kind of like maps and established the way things work for this world, and I just took that world, got rid of all the game rules, and used it as a backdrop for a setting. I mean, obviously there were some changes necessary between the game system and a novelization and a full story. That's probably one of the reasons that Virtual Immortality went through 14 revisions. But yeah, I had pretty much 18 to 20 years of development on this setting, and it was right there ready for me when I said, hey, you know what, let's try this writing thing.
Katie?
Me. Okay. I think with Kia, most of my world building I had to do research for. I spent a lot of hours researching the area and the geology and the topographical area, as well as pulling up the historical sites like the city of Tel El Amarna, and also Thebes, the Nile, which direction it ran, and how it was back then, how it was used. I had to research things like boats, building techniques, how Amarna differed from the rest of the Egyptian cities of that period, as well as just the geology of the area, so that you could really have I could really have a clear visual of what it was like at that time. There was also things like I had to research fashion and even just gross things like how they went to the bathroom and how they kept their hygiene, and because a lot of them had fleas, so they'd shave their head and wear wigs instead, and just little things like that. I had to really just spend hours looking up and just constructing piece by piece everything that I needed for that period of time that other people had to live with. So I did that, and then I slotted my characters into it, and let the world and the culture of the time sort of mold what they would have seen and reacted to, and what things would have upset them, what things wouldn't have bothered them, and so forth like that.
So how much time did you actually put into all the research before you actually started writing, or did you like do it all together?
Oh. Yeah. I spent a lot of time beforehand building like a clear picture of what it was, the world and stuff, and a timeline. But then as I started writing, I realized I had some holes that I needed to research. So so there was a lot done beforehand, but also while I was doing it, I was filling in holes with things that I hadn't thought I needed to look up, and then I needed to look up and expand on my knowledge in that area.
Anne?
Yeah. First, I want to say, holy crap, Matt, that's amazing. The whole video game thing. I'm just like sitting with my eyes bugging out of my head as you're talking. I don't know how to do any of that, but that's amazing. And then, Katie, I got to ask you about the fleas sometime after this, because I thought humans aren't appropriate hosts for fleas. So I'm wondering if it's like a wig thing or what. But we could talk about that later, because I like to talk about parasites. But anyways, we don't have to do that now. But my setting, I guess I was sort of lucky because I actually grew up in the setting, because the setting, and maybe this is what I should have answered earlier, the setting is actually real. You know, How to Date Dead Guys, the setting is real. It's the UW, which is University of Wisconsin Eau Claire campus. Everything that's in the book is actually real. And my father taught physics on the campus, so I grew up on the campus. We would go there all the time. We would go in the swimming pool. We would go do the bowling there. We would have ice cream there, and they would have like ice statues that were colored with food coloring. I mean, I went to plays there. I feel like I grew up on the campus, and then I went to school there too. And there is the Chippewa River that divides the campus, not exactly in half, but it divides it in half, and there's this big bridge that goes over the Chippewa River. And I remember being at home, I think I was in high school, when my father told me that somebody drowned in that river trying to swim it. And it bothered my dad for a very, very, very long time. He would talk about it, over and over again. And, so maybe I was just meant to write this book eventually, because, the campus is just in my blood. And I love that campus. I love the river. I used to tube in the river. I went to school there. The bridge has been classified on David Letterman as one of the top 10 coldest places in America, when you're crossing the bridge in the winter. And it just seems like the place to set it. And another reason that I wrote the book is because I remember when I was in high school, everything's about high school. All the books are about high school. Everything's about high school. There aren't that many books read about college, and maybe that's part of the reason I wrote that too. I mean, that's really when you start when you start doing your own laundry is when you start taking some responsibility, but you think you're so old, and you're really super young, and you're really still really stupid, and you make dumb mistakes. Like, I saw this thing once, it was awesome. It was this woman that says, when I don't know what to do, I think about what I would have done at 25, and then I do the opposite. And I think, there's some truth to that, because you think you're so smart and you're so adult, and really you're just kind of dumb, doing dumb things, and
Really
you got to learn from the dumb things. So I kind of forgot what the question was. Oh, the setting, but I'm done.
I'm still in my 20s. You're making me feel bad.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so old. Well, maybe you're smarter than I was.
25. Stupid was gone by then. As a mom.
Maybe not 25, more like 21. I wasn't so stupid at 25.
I was pregnant at 21.
And everybody's different too. I mean, some people mature much younger. I probably took longer than necessary. Only child.
I'm an only child. Yep. Okay, the next question is for you. Was it fleas or was it lice?
It was lice. I was thinking about it. I'm like,
okay.
I'm so please excuse my pregnant brain.
Sorry about my parasite intervention there.
Yes, let's get some tapeworm going too while we're at it.
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's see. The next question, one of you guys can take it, whoever wants it. They want to know what goes into a query letter. Who wants to take it?
It's usually
the query
just
letter?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
There's those 3 steps. You've got your hook for your beginning, and then you've got the meat of the story, and then you want your what's it called? Then you want your the bottom bit, the last bit to the query letter. Which
your
is
mini bio?
No, I'm trying to think. You'll have to see. It's gone. Like seriously. Yeah, the conflict. That's it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what you want to really focus on for the query, so that you can really catch someone's attention to really make them want to read the sample that you send as well. Anyone want to add to that?
Is it better to write it yourself, or is it better to pay somebody else to do it for you?
No, write it yourself. I mean, it's good
because only you know the story you wrote.
Yes, exactly.
I will have a tiny bit of me and my critique group. This is a while ago, but I thought, sometimes it's easier for somebody else to see stuff, and I kind of did a little thing where I wrote a query, like a pretend query for this person, and they wrote it for that, and I thought that was sort of interesting because sometimes somebody else will bring out what they think is the most interesting thing out of your book. So I think you have to write it yourself. But I think someone else, like someone in your critique group, might help you,
right.
Get an idea of what to write.
Yeah. Well, the hardest thing to do, I think, for a query is to take the 100,000 words and boil it down to 250.
Right.
Focus on the primary storyline and shave off all the side plots and all the unnecessary, or not, I don't want to say unnecessary, but non-main characters. Don't name everything under the sun. Don't drop 300 names in the query. Name the main character and then just refer to other things. Start with a hook, summarize the main character's conflict, a little bit about the plot, and then end with the choice. What does the main character have to choose between? What do they have to sacrifice? What's at stake if they fail? An ending that'll make somebody who reads the query want to see what happened.
Yeah.
Right. And some people like to have comparisons, like a cross between book X and book Y. Mm-hmm. And some agents like to have a little, talk at the beginning, like, why are you querying me? And some agents don't. So sometimes what goes into query really depends on what agent or what publisher you're writing to.
And they'll usually explain that in their submissions. So, a lot of submission guidelines.
Okay, the next question is, it's a two-parter. How scary was it to give your book to a reader before it physically got published, and were you scared that it would get pirated or that they would share it with other people? We'll start with Matthew.
At first, the whole I'm going to send the file to somebody. What's going to happen to it? Yeah, there was a bit of fear about that, but if you sit on it and you guard it like a kitten, it's never going to see the light of day. So there is a little bit of faith necessary. You got to trust somebody, and books will get pirated. They're going to show up on pirate sites. It's media. It's going to happen. I've heard people say that the people who pirate books are not going to buy them anyway, and it's more exposure. They might mention it to somebody who feels like buying it. It's, Metallica had a lot of backlash when they sued the Napster thing, and I don't really honestly know how I feel about it. At one point, I'm happy somebody's reading, and on the other, it would have been nicer to get paid for it. I mean, the ultimate goal here is to make a living at writing, but I think it's one of those things that's just a necessary part of the process. It's going to happen. It's human nature. And there's an argument can be made that it's a waste of effort to try and eradicate it. Just deal with it as best you can. It's somebody else reading your work, and I think that's the important part.
Katie?
Could you ask the whole question again? I forgot the first half.
How scary was it to give your book to a reader before it got published, and how scared were you that it would get pirated?
Okay. Honestly, I'm a bit of a show-off at times. I wanted everyone to read my book, so I would be like, somebody read my book. But I was nervous that they'd start sharing it around and stuff. That was actually one of my big fears leading up to publication was piracy. I was really terrified that everyone's going to steal my stuff. I'm not going to get any money for it, and it's going to be terrible, and I'm not going to get my dues for my hard work and effort and stuff. But 2 years later, I'm like, yeah, it sucks. It happens. I'm still getting good sales, so I'm fine. I guess I'm resolved to the problem. So.
Anne?
I guess I was lucky that I didn't actually know about pirating until after I was published, so the fear wasn't there before, and now I'm at the point where listening to so many other authors that there's nothing you can do, that it's going to be pirated anyways. I could see where people just get very frustrated, though, where their book isn't even out and it's on a pirate site. The other thing is, getting a pirated book is stealing, and some people just don't see it. It's like, plus, half the time, not half the time, but if you want, you can wait till an ebook is 99 cents. Is it really going to kill you to pay 99 cents? You'd rather steal something? And I don't know if that is like my parents in the background, like you don't steal anything, but I don't know. I don't understand it, but I think Matt's right that those people weren't going to buy your book anyways because they're looking for stuff for free. They always want it free, and that's just a different mentality than I have, I guess.
Yeah, to a point, I think that people who pirate aren't necessarily doing it to avoid paying for something just because of the money issue. They just pirate because they pirate. It's not so much that they're not paying for it.
They do it because
they don't even see it as stealing. They just don't. I don't know.
All right. The next question is, what are you reading right now? Anne?
I'm beta reading for somebody else from Curiosity Quills a different historical book that I think is really, really good, but I guess I can't really talk about it yet because it's not published yet, but I really like that. And then I'm going to butcher this, but you mentioned A.W. Exley, Nefertiti's. Does anybody know how to say that?
Nefertiti?
Say it again?
Nefertiti?
I could show you the book. Hold on.
You're so funny.
Can you see the title? Whoa. There.
Nefertiti. Nefertiti's in my book, too. That's why I'm doing this.
Nefertiti. Oh, I can't get these things back in. Anyways, I don't know how to say it, but I like the book.
Yeah. That book's been popular for a while. It's quite...
Wait, maybe that's the right way.
You can do it.
But I just got done reading To All the Boys I Loved Before, and that was adorable. And I just got done reading Queen of Someday by Sherry Ficklin, and that was
really good.
Historical. That was really good. She was on your show a while ago, wasn't she? A little while ago. That was really
she was
good.
on I think like 2 weeks ago. It's like I need book 2 now.
I don't
want to wait
when
until
is that
July.
coming out? Next year.
I think it comes out in July. of this
July.
year.
I saw the
Yeah.
cover, but I didn't see the date. But yeah, I liked that too. And then I can't remember what I read before. Oh, I read Still Alice, which was really well done. And again, I think I mentioned before, my mom has Alzheimer's, so it's like mortifyingly depressing. But super well done. I mean, what a great idea to do it from the viewpoint of the person suffering Alzheimer's and to show some of this. And some of the stuff was so, I just wanted to say, yes, this is just how it is, because some people just don't get Alzheimer's. Like, here's something. If you know someone and someone in their family is suffering from Alzheimer's, don't ask them if family member X is getting better, because you don't get better. You don't get better. I'll stop. Go.
Katie?
What have I been reading? Oh, I have been in a great big editing hole for a while. It's kind of awkward. So I kind of haven't read a lot of recreational reading lately. I kind of just started reading a submission for Curiosity Quills that I'm going to get onto. But I've been stuck in an editing hole for a little while and don't expect to get out for a while either. I do have a lot of books that I need to read. I need to read Mara Valderan's book, Ultimate Reality. That's like the top of my list. I'm like, I need to make time to read this, but it hasn't happened yet. So, but that's it. I'm not really reading at the moment.
Matthew?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Katie. I've been doing a lot of beta reading and proofreading for CQ in between editing my own stuff. I have a copy of Zero History by William Gibson waiting for me to jump on it, which I'm probably going to get to relatively soon. I also read The Funny Thing About War by Al Campo a couple of weeks ago. That was decent. Needs editing, but it was decent. But yeah, pretty much up to my eyeballs in betas and edits.
I've been my eyeballs in cleaning. I actually I just finished. If you like Alice in Wonderland retelling Splintered by A.G. Howard, that was amazing. I finally sat down and read it. It was amazing. And then I'm currently reading Pretty Crooked from Ludwig, and that one's okay. I'm about halfway through it, but it's kind of slow. It's a retelling of Robin Hood, modern day Robin Hood, and it needs to like pick up the pace. Let's go. Let's go. I want to go. Let's see. The next question is, if you weren't a writer, what do you think you'd be doing? Matthew?
Probably some kind of creative thing, like maybe video game development or art or something like that. You know, at the moment I am doing customer service, which is oh so fun, but at least it's by email and I don't have to hear them screaming at me.
That's always a plus.
Yeah. Probably some kind of creative outlet.
You know, customer service can be very, very evil. I've done customer service for 10 plus years, and man, that makes me feel really old. And you never know what you're gonna get. It's crazy.
Used to be tech support, but I wound up doing CS offline. But it's decent. The people I work with are cool. So maybe someday I'll make a living as a writer. Who knows?
One day, right?
Yeah, that's the dream.
Katie?
If I wasn't writing, I'd probably be cleaning the house more.
That works if you're a reader too. There's laundry. It's clean, but it hasn't been put away yet.
It's kind of like whatever. What were we doing? I was studying to be a physical education teacher for high school before I moved here, so I think I would like to finish that degree. But I don't think that's on the cards for me at the moment. So this is like really good for me right now. But yeah, if I wasn't running, I would probably just be a little housewife at the moment, waiting for my husband to finish his schooling. So.
What is he going to school for?
He is doing a business degree. I think you might be able to hear him in the background. He's on the phone.
Sorry.
And Anne?
Well, I guess I always expect to continue being a veterinarian. So, just the normal life stuff that I do in between writing, I would probably read more. And that was, going back to the question before for writer's block. Sometimes I feel like I empty myself out and there's nothing left. And sometimes like reading other awesome books helps me get inspired. Not like I want to write that book, but to write again. Or, but yeah, I don't really expect to just be a writer. I expect to do veterinary, be a veterinarian and trail run and do yoga and be a mom, and I expect to do everything because I just do.
I don't think very many of us expect to make a living on writing. It's one of those, it'll be nice if it happens, but there's always going to be something to lean on,
Always have a backup.
Yep.
Well, plus I like being a veterinarian, so I guess I don't really want to give it up. I don't want to give anything up, I guess. Selfish. So I want it all.
Okay, so now you guys can do your shout out to whoever you want to. We will start with Anne here.
I'm sorry, I don't know what the shout out is. What
You can
is
shout
the
out to anybody. You can pimp whoever you want. Your favorite author, your readers. Hey, come read my book and buy it. Whatever.
Okay. Well, I would encourage anyone to read my book. I would encourage anyone to read any books. I think reading is the best way to explore other people's minds and explore other stories and other lives. And, I have a young son, and he started loving reading when I bought him a bunch of superhero books, which aren't necessarily my thing, but they're his thing. And then I would pretend that I was too busy to read them to him because I wanted him to do it himself, and it worked. It was a good ploy. It worked because then he struggled through it, and now he's like a voracious reader. And I mean, it's I'm not saying he's going to be like Einstein, but it's really helped him at school. And I think, they say reading is the basis for, any of your education. So I would really encourage anyone of any age to read more. That's my shout out. Read. So, yeah.
Katie?
My husband's in the background telling me to shout out to him, so shout out to Landon. He's like, tell them all to shout out to me. I'm like, go away. No, I think I'd like to shout out to everyone who's taken the time to read my books and show support and Landon again. My friends and family and the other writers who helped me along the way. I think getting a book together is a team effort, and it's just hard for introverts all the time, but it's just what you have to do. So everyone involved and everyone who still helps me even now, you're all awesome. Party hard.
I love your accent.
Thanks.
How long have you been in the U.S.?
Almost 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Has it gotten, like, have your accent gotten less, or is it still about the same, or? My
Australian friends and family all tease me about having an American accent, and I just, like, cry. I run away and cry. They're like, you're American now, and I'm all, leave me alone. So, well, it's fun to live with. Down. Watch out.
Matthew?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to give a shout out to everybody at Curiosity Quills that took a chance when I sent them my book. James Wymore, Lisa, Andrew, Eugene. I've found a lot of good books reading CQ stuff. Anne's book was good. I haven't yet read Katie's. I probably should.
They're a little girly. You may not like them.
Special thanks to anybody who bothered to take the time to post a review. Those are a huge help, especially to any starting author. Reviews are big. I read Elsie's book a while back. I thought it was really good too. Yeah, I'm really awful at being a sales weasel, so I don't really know what to say here.
That sounds good. We actually had one last minute question for Anne. They want to know your book, Witches, Warlocks. Are there any like bad witches in your book at all? Because you said it dealt with witchcraft.
It does. I'm trying to get the division between the different books in my head here. It's not so much in the first book. In the second book, yes. And in the first book, which kind of hints at this, is more of the issue of, you know, if you get this newfound power, how do you know how to control it, and how do you know what to do with it, and is it going to shape you or change you in ways that you don't like, which it also goes into the second book. I think this happens a lot in books, but the second book probably gets more, you know, darker than the first book ever did. There aren't really any warlocks in the first book. It's, you know, it's a lot of it's based. I kind of thought of it, college life, if you happen to start practicing witchcraft, rather than it being like all about witchcraft. It's not like witchcraft 24/7. It's more like witchcraft 101. So.
Okay. And when does the second book come out?
I believe June, unless things change.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming on. If you are going to enter the giveaway, viewers, I will toss a link on there, or you can go to my website, crossreviews.com. It is already posted. And just do the things on there. And I actually need to add you guys' Twitter to it because I hadn't done that yet, and I just remembered that I hadn't done that yet. And there will be 3 winners. So the winner of How to Date Dead Guys will also get that extra book that I have. So you'll get 2 books. The second winner will get the 3 books from Katie, and then the third winner will get the 2 books from Division Zero. So everybody wins something. And if you tune in, I actually switched the dates around on everybody. So from March 22nd to the 28th, I will be doing a week-long giveaway and reviews for everything from Curiosity Quills. There probably won't be any books in it, but I do have a lot of swag to give away. So that will more than likely be given away, maybe a gift card or something for e-copies. I know I've got a whole bunch of other stuff that the authors paid for giveaways, so that's where that stuff is going to be added. So you 3, thank you so much for coming on. If you wish to come back for your next book, just let me know. You know where to find me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You guys can click the little red phone that's up here by your head. Little pop up.
By my head?
Yeah, if
Yep.
you move your cursor up there. Bye.
Red phone.
I'll see it.
If you put your mouse over like your head, it should be like a little pop-up. It's like a person and a microphone and turn your camera off, Wi-Fi, and a little setting thingy and a phone. It says leave call. Or you can just close the window that this is in. That works too.
Yeah. I don't see it. Oh, I guess I will just close the window then.
Ooh, I just heard a gunshot. That's creepy. Okay, get to my other link here. All right, and if you join us next week for March 7th, that will be the last week for Curiosity Quills authors, and that week we will be having J.P. Sloan on, Randy Atwood, Gustavo Florentine. If I butcher your names and you're watching this, I'm so sorry. Mathew Cox will actually be back again for his adult book. Sharon Bayless, James Wymore, and Darren Kennedy will all be back. We'll all be here for next week. And you can check out all those books as well as all my other updates either on my Facebook page or my Facebook group. Facebook group has a lot more activity on it at this particular point in time because people kept stating that they weren't getting my updates. So I made a group. And I will catch you guys at 6 o'clock. My book chat show that I'm attempting to revive, we will be talking about 50 Shades of Grey, yes or no. So I will see you guys then.